do you think of my chances? You got about as much of a chance as a skinhead on Def Jam.
Tonight at 7 on WGN Channel 9. The following is a presentation of WGN Sports.
What a beautiful day for baseball here in Cincinnati. The temperature about 75 degrees. The Cubs and the Reds in the first game of the year. A battle between the McRaes, father and son. Father coach, son playing for the Cubs. Stay with us for exciting Cubs baseball.
Chicago Cubs baseball on WGN. Brought to you by Bud Light. If you want great taste that won't fill you up and never lets you down, make it a Bud Light. Your local Buick dealers, the new symbol for quality in America. Your Chicagoland Builders Square, the official home improvement center of the Chicago Cubs. Pepsi. Nothing else is a Pepsi. Aflac, insuring over 38 million people worldwide. And by Southwest Airlines at convenient Midway Airport, the official airline of WGN TV Sports. Fly Southwest, the low-fare airline.
Come on, tough guy.
Too tough for just one night. WGN presents 2 nights of all Chuck action. First on Thursday.
I'm not going anywhere until I find out where my brother is.
Small-town corruption doesn't stand a chance. Breaker. Then on Friday.
I'll get in my own way, my own time.
Chuck Norris is Lone Wolf McQuade. Yeah! 2 nights of all Chuck action. Thursday and Friday at 11:30 on WGN.
Piece of cake. If you have the most powerful standard engine in its class, like the GMC Sonoma. Make a date to test drive it. Go to your GMC truck dealer instead, because right now they can help you save big time on the all-new GMC Sonoma. So see your dealer today.
With Steve Stone and Harry Carey. What a beautiful day for baseball here at Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati. The temperature about 72 degrees, an ideal perfect day to start.
And for those of you who thought baseball would never come in 1995, it's here today. Jim Bullinger going to the mound and Jose Rijo pitching for Cincinnati. And Harry, happy 51st anniversary.
Listen, this ought to be an interesting ball game from another angle, too. Hal McRae, Brian's father, now coaches for the Reds, and of course Brian playing for the Cubs. And I imagine that Hal is watching the game today with mixed emotions.
Well, it should be an interesting game. Everybody says Cincinnati's a team to catch. The Cubs are right even with them so far.
All right, exciting baseball coming up in a moment.
We're very fortunate to have such a wonderful family.
After his operation, his body was like twice the normal size. He was on this respirator for 3 weeks. It was kind of lonely around here.
I got Aflac through our company. The owner of the company felt that we should have it. It turned out fabulous.
Aflac covers the unexpected costs of getting better so you can get on with life.
Everything worked out wonderful.
Okay, Smiths, first base. Melnick, home plate. Okay, let's hit the field.
Where does the whole neighborhood go when it's time to fix up around home?
Builder Square! They'll get you squared away.
Hello again, everybody. Harry Carey with Steve Stone and Tom Brenneman. Here are the lineups for today's game. Brought to you by Pepsi for the Cubs, with Jim Riggleman making his debut as Cub manager. McRae in center. Sanchez at second. Sosa in right. Grace at first. Wilkins catching. Dunston the shortstop. Buechele at third. Scott Bullitt in left. And Jim Bullinger is on the mound. The defense for the Cincinnati Reds: Ron Gant in left, Deion Sanders in center, Reggie Sanders in right. Willie Green at third, Barry Larkin at short, Brett Boone at second, Hal Morris at first, Benito Santiago behind the plate, and Jose Rijo is doing the pitching. The umpires today are, and there's an interesting thing about the umpires: Jim Gaiman working the plate, Larry Randall at first, Bob Hernandez at second, and Jim Pacheco is the third base umpire. And Steve, you were telling me an interesting thing. Your buddy Ryan's restaurant in Phoenix, the chef is the chief of the umpiring crew in the American League.
Yeah, he's going to be umpiring apparently the Sox game at Milwaukee. We call him Higgs, Harry. Apparently he went right from the kitchen right to crew chief in the American League. So as you can see, I'm not sure about his umpiring. I do know that the cooking was pretty good, but I think that everybody associated with baseball would just love to see the regular umpires back umpiring.
I should think so, but it's an interesting story. Now, who's doing the cooking for Buddy?
We haven't been doing much business. I'm not sure.
Well, what a day here for an opening game. And, you know, baseball got away to a thrilling start last night. The Los Angeles Dodgers won the first game of the season, but they had a big lead and almost lost it. The Florida Marlins ran the count to 8-7 in the bottom of the ninth. They had the tying runs on base. And the batter, Howard Johnson, I think it was.
Charles Johnson, a rookie catcher,
struck out to end the game. But if that's a sample of the kind of thrilling baseball we're going to have, a good way to start the year.
Well, I think what you're going to see, Harry, is a lot of runs scored. I think you're going to see a lot of offenses far ahead of the pitching staffs. The Cubs have 14 pitchers on their roster because they intend to go to the bullpen a little more frequently. The Reds have 12 pitchers on their roster, and one of the reasons why, they've got a couple of real tough guys at the top of that rotation. One of them today in Jose Rijo and the other in John Smiley. They anchor the rotation. They're very good. After those two, the rotation gets a little spotty as far as the Reds are concerned. When you take a look at the 8 men they send out there, and they really help themselves acquiring Benito Santiago behind the plate, you have to ask a couple of questions about the Reds. Is Willie Green going to be able to do close to what Fernandez did at third base last year? I mean, last year Tony Fernandez made, I think, 4 errors at third base all year long. And of course, Kevin Mitchell, the big bat of the Reds, the man who went on to Japan, has to be replaced. But they believe the man to replace him is Ron Gant in left field. And if Ron Gant can do anything like he did with the Atlanta Braves a couple of years ago before he fractured his leg, he will be a great addition to this team.
You know, couldn't agree with you more. Most people are picking the Reds to win the Central Division and going down their lineup as you just did. While there are some question marks, they're very mild ones. The 8 men they put on the field are very, very formidable. And their question mark is like every club's, pitching. And they're opening the season with their ace, Jose Rijo. And there's no doubt about his ability. There's Deion Sanders in center field. And more people are thinking he ought to give up football, at which he's very great also, and concentrate on baseball, where he's becoming almost as great as he is in football. Because football eventually you're liable to get hurt, especially being a cornerback in the NFL.
Well, he has a Super Bowl ring, Harry. Now he's looking for a World Series ring to go with it. But there's 144 games this year before he can even think about the playoffs. And one of the men who's got to get him there is Deion Sanders at the top of the order. He's a leadoff hitter. He's been working on his bunting quite a bit. So now we'll see if the Cubs can do something that no other club was able to do in spring training. That is score a run off Jose Rijo. He had a 0.0 ERA in the spring.
Brian McRae, fastball, and a good fastball, too. Rijo, the veteran of the Cincinnati Reds pitching staff. Hard-throwing right-hander, good slider. That evens the count of a ball and a strike. McRae. Switch hitter. Swings and he misses.
I don't know if McRae has seen the slider of Jose Rijo, but it's just about the best in the league. It's devastating to right-hand hitters, equally effective to most of the left-hand hitters. And Rijo went with a lot more fastballs this spring. I'm not sure if he's tested the slider out a great deal, but that is one tough customer you're looking at in Jose Rijo.
2 strikes and the ball. Fouled, tipped it. And I notice McRae is not really giving a good swing. That attests to the fastball and hard slider the Rio's throwing. He struck him out.
Well, there's the slider, and certainly it just overmatched Brian McRae in the first at bat.
You know, our vantage point, because there's so much coverage of this game, we're right behind first base, and it's not a bad view at all as long as we have the monitor that shows us where the pitch is. Jim Riggleman making his debut as manager of the Cubs. Managed San Diego the last couple of years. Well, there's an old baseball superstition. If you strike out the first guy, you're destined to lose the ball game. But if you strike out the second guy as well, you might strike out 27 men in a row. Sanchez. 1 ball, no strikes. Inside, ball 2. 2 balls, no strike. It'll be interesting to see how long Rijo would pitch on this, the first game of the year.
Well, I saw him over at the hotel this morning, Harry. Apparently he's staying the same place that we are.
There's a ground ball. Barry Larkin will throw him out.
And I asked Rijo how long he was going to go today. He said he really had no set plans. He said he felt great. His arm has never been better. But he figures he's just going to go as hard as he can, as long as he can. I asked Davey Johnson the same question. And Davey Johnson said when Jose starts to lose it, unlike most pitchers, he starts working much more quickly. So that might be the tip-off as we go along. If he starts working real quickly, maybe he is tiring somewhat. The Cubs would like to see him out of there as soon as possible, however. He's 9-2 lifetime against them.
Rijo will be 30 years old next month. Boy, next month is almost here. It's almost May. We're the 26th day of April. 30 days has April. Swung and he missed.
Right-handers have a very difficult time against Jose Rijo. There you look at the career against Rijo for Sammy Sosa. Not bad. If you try to take that slider and pull it, you've got no chance. You've got to hit that slider to right and right center field.
Rijo, big guy, 6'2", weighs 215. Strike, swing and he missed. Boy, he is throwing hard.
I would assume right here, if he wants to strike out Sammy, he'll go with the slider.
0-2 the count. This is the 4th straight year the Rijo started the season for the Reds. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Only one Red pitcher in history started more consecutive openers, and that was Mario Soto. And that was in the mid-'80s.
Remember, the Cubs open their home season Friday afternoon against Montreal, and tickets are available. One ball, 2 strikes, 2 out. Sammy Sosa with home run power, facing Jose Rijo. Inside, ball 2, 2-2.
I think Rio wanted that one. Certainly Santiago did, but Jim Garman, the home plate umpire, much to the delight of Sammy Sosa, said it was a little up and in.
There's Davey Johnson, the Reds manager, formerly manager of the Mets. Ball 4, he walked him. So Sammy Sosa, fine time at bat. The way this guy's been throwing the ball is Rio. He fouled off some pitches, got the call on a couple of pitches that could have been strikes, and winds up being the first man to reach base.
Now, Sammy Sosa really has to be aware of Santiago behind the plate, because with the left-hand hitter up, Benito Santiago likes to dip behind the left-hander and throw to first base. And if Sammy starts to wander off first, he could be the target of a pickoff attempt. So I'm sure that Dan Radisson is telling him of that fact right at this moment.
Well, here's the first left. Well, no, McRae hitting left-handed. But here's Grace facing Rio. 3 men in the Cub lineup hit from the left side. McRae, who's a switch hitter, Grace, and Bullitt. Well, I tell you what, a guy's throwing this hard. It doesn't make any difference from which side of the plate you're hitting.
Well, there's nothing wrong with the arm of Jose Rijo this spring. He is rushing it up there. But Mark Grace has handled Rio over the course of his career.
A bit. Foul, not a play. Had a good cut. Beautiful day here in Cincinnati. Riverfront Stadium.
65 degrees at game time. And they sold over 50,000 tickets, but there's a lot of folks that did not show up for this one.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Drive, foul ball just outside first base. Hal Morris dived for the ball. I could probably say if it had been fair, as hard as it was hit, it would have been caught by Morris. But it was fouled just beyond his reach. Mars, a good hitting first baseman along the lines of Mark Grace. Doesn't hit as many home runs as a lot of other first basemen, but hits a high average. 2 out, a runner on. 1 ball, 2 strikes. There goes the runner. The throw, save, and the Cubs have a man in scoring position. And the way he is pitching, being out in front is very important today.
If Santiago makes a good throw, he's going to cut down Sosa, but this throw is in the dirt. It's a good ball to handle for Santiago. He got all the best of it, but the throw is down. It flattens out. Larkin can't come up with it, and Sammy Sosa has a stolen base. 1 for 1 this year.
2 balls, 2 strikes.
Best arm in the outfield is Reggie Sanders in right field. He's got a rocket.
Oh, 3 almost hit him in the knee. 3-2, 2 out. The sun has gone into hiding behind a cloud, but it'll be back out again. 3-2. Sosa, a lead at second. Ground ball, Willie Green throws the first to retire the side. No runs, no hits, 1 left. We go in the bottom of the first, no score.
Bud Light Amateur Beach Challenge. They're lean. They're mean.
Oh, they're killing us.
Yeah!
How about 2 out of 3?
For the great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down,
What's wrong with her?
make it a Bud Light.
Look what's popping up for spring. Come save on lots of things at Sears Days.
Just in time for spring driving, it's Sears' lowest prices ever on great brand name tires. Through Saturday, get huge savings on select Michelin, Bridgestone, Guardsman Plus, and more. Save from 5 to 30%. For our lowest prices ever on these great brand name tires, roll on into Sears Auto Center by Saturday.
Come and save so many ways at Sears Days.
Harry Carey back at Riverfront. Here is the Reds lineup of Deion Sanders leading it off. Dave Johnson managing the Reds. Barry Larkin at short. Hal Morris at first. Ron Gant in left, used to be with the Braves. Brett Boone at second. His dad is managing Kansas City. Bob Boone. Santiago, the catcher. Reggie Sanders in right field, no relation to Deion. Willie Green at third, and Rio is the pitcher. The Pepsi defense for the Cubs: Bullitt, McRae, and Sosa in the outfield. Buechele, Dunston, Sanchez, and Grace on the infield. Bullinger pitching, Wilkins catching. And we're ready for the first pitch to the Reds. Deion Sanders, who in spring training this year has batted .424.
He's also bunting a lot more, and the Cubs have to beware of the great speed of Sanders.
I noticed Buechele and Grace are playing very shallow at the corners. Buechele at third, Grace at first. Strike call.
Now Sanders has a habit, and he will lay down a 2-strike bunt on occasion, but he has a habit of stepping actually behind home plate.
Now he's at the bat out as if he were going to bunt. Now the pitch. Curveball or slider. And the count is evened up. Beautiful day. We're at Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati. One pitch. Curveball outside.
I think things are going to be a little tougher for Jim Bullinger than most pitchers with replacement umpires, simply because he throws a lot of big curveballs, and that's the toughest pitch to call for any umpire, let alone the replacement umps.
2 balls and the strike. Hot shot! Caught nicely by Sanchez and throws him out. Boy, Sanders hit that ball on the nose. One away. You know, we mentioned the McRae father and son. The son playing center for the Cubs. The father coaching for Davey Johnson. We have a father and son combination affected here in the booth. Marty Brenneman, umpire, broadcasting for the Reds, and Tom Brenneman will be along in to start the 4th inning for the Cubs here. Fastball a little bit inside and high. Barry Larkin.
And finally last year, Barry Larkin broke the stranglehold of Ozzie Smith with gold gloves at shortstop. Barry Larkin won his first gold glove, and he's acclaimed as about the best shortstop both ways in the National League.
Yeah, but Ozzie had to get to be 44 years old before anybody beat him out for it. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out. No score. A lot of empty seats, but a big crowd. This is a big ballpark. Big, I'm talking about capacity in attendance. Two balls and the strike. There's a, oh, what a play by Dunson. He throws, but not in time. Sean Dunson, a remarkable play. Had a throw from almost a prone position. Base hit.
Fine effort by Sean Dunston trying to rob his counterpart of a base hit as Larkin goes back up the middle. Dunston realizes Larkin's got great speed. The only thing he can do is from his knees try to get it across. But Barry Larkin runs too well for this one, and Sean Dunston, although a fine effort, is unrewarded on the other end.
Boy, I'll say it was a fine effort. A remarkable play, even to get to the ball. And throwing from his knees, he almost got him.
Have to keep your eye on Larkin, who stole 26 bases last year. He's got good speed.
Here's Hal Morris fouling the first pitch off. Morris hitting .324 in the spring games.
Morris hit .335 last year, a lifetime .313 hitter. He doesn't have a great deal of power, but he is an exceptional contact man. And last year he did hit 10 home runs.
And he has a younger brother playing for the Cubs organization. There goes a runner. Here's the peg. Safe, a stolen base. Wilkin did not make a good throw. A good throw might have had him.
Well, Jim Bullinger made a mistake. He allowed Barry Larkin to get a moving lead at first base. You've got to make sure that that man is stopped before you come home. Here's the throw. It's not a good one. It's into the runner, and Dunston has to use his acrobatic best to keep this ball from going into center field. Larkin stealing the base easily. That one was stolen on Bullinger, and he's got to make these Reds runners stop. This is a very aggressive base running team. And
so Hal Morris, 1-1 the count. Look at the lead Larkin had. What a time had been called by Morris, apparently. And Bullinger went through the motion of pitching and realized time had been called and held on to the ball. Didn't get hurt your shoulder
yes,
that way.
Yes, you can, Harry. And for all you young pitchers out there, when you see something like that, just continue throwing the baseball, because you can indeed hurt yourself by holding up.
High pop foul out of play, and he's ahead of the hitter. 2 strikes and the ball. Ron Gant will be next.
And I'm sure that Bullinger realizes he has got to hold the Reds very close today, because his pitching opponent has been so tough on the Cubs through the years. Jose Rijo doesn't give you too much, and Bullinger can't afford to fall behind early.
1 ball, 2 strikes. There's a high pop fly that Dunston will handle. 2 away, Morris. Pop to Dunston, the shortstop.
That was a pretty good sequence of pitching for Bullinger, because he retired a very tough hitter, had him off balance. And now he's got to deal with Ron Gant, who normally has some difficulty early in the season. He's an avid weightlifter. You can see how strong this young man is, but early in the year, many times you're able to tie him up inside. And with a good curveball that Bullinger has, might be a good time to show it to Gant, who didn't play at all last year.
Big star with the Atlanta Braves, Ron Gant. Hits with power and steals a lot of bases. Gant doesn't look it, but he weighs 200 pounds, a 6-footer. And you get a look at the biceps, you understand what you're talking about.
This is a very strong young man.
There's the long drive, deep right center field, and Sosa! What a fine play by Sammy Sosa. Did he ever have to run a long way? Covered an acre of ground, hauled it